Yes. All right. Yeah. I just wanted to do a little bit of a follow up on that last video. Um, so I mean, I feel like in my life, I've lived a pretty full life in my opinion, and that like for example that there aren't very many people, you know, how do I explain this? I'm making me some coffee. I probably shouldn't drink it, but I never should on yourself. So even though I shouldn't drink coffee, I'm going to, because I never should on myself. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, like there aren't very many people that can say that they've been homeless for 10 years, and a lot of people would think that that's shameful. I'm not ashamed of it at all, and because I've seen and learned so much just on that 10 years that I lived on the street, like unimaginable shit, like unimaginable. A lot of people like to think that they know about homelessness. The reason that they like to think they know about homelessness is because fear of the unknown. Because they don't it's hard to acknowledge the unknown, so it's easier to just say, "Oh, I know all about that. I know all about that." And you'd be surprised how many people act like they know about homelessness. It's just like the Matrix. It's just like Morpheus says in the Matrix. You can't be told you can't be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. It's like that's exactly homelessness. No one can be told what homeless is. You have to see it for yourself. That's the only way you'll ever know. And yeah, how many people do you personally know who lived under a bridge for 10 years and ate out of dumpsters and lived under a bridge for 10 years? I bet you can't even think of one person. And the other thing about, having been abstinent from all drugs and alcohol for 23 years, how many people do you know that have literally been absent from all drugs and alcohol for 23 years, including marijuana, microdosing, DMT? I'm not talking about California sober. California sober is people that smoke weed, and that's California sober. I don't know if you've heard that term, but California sober is, oh, I microdose and I eat mushrooms and I'll blast off on DMT and I smoke weed, but I'm totally sober, man. Like I'm not California sober. I mean, I don't do any of it. And like I said in the last video, the reason is because of every high I've ever experienced in my life. And you can run down the list of crack, cocaine, meth, heroin, all this shit, and of every high I've ever chased in my life. Abstinence is by far the best. And that may sound cliche, and like I said in the last video, you may not believe me. I don't really give a fuck. I don't care what people think. But anyways, no. You see, so like people like me are a rare breed, rarely, if ever, rarely, if ever, will you ever meet someone who has been abstinent from all drugs and alcohol for 23 years. Rarely in life will you ever meet someone who lived under a bridge eating out of dumpsters for 10 years. Okay, and then let alone to meet someone who has lived under a bridge eating out of dumpsters for 10 years and has been abstinent from all drugs and alcohol for 23 years. You're not going to find people. You're not going to find them. And so I've lived a pretty full life. Like all the bands I've been, all the shit that I've seen with all these different bands I've seen and played in and everything, and just like everything, like I've lived a full life, And so here I am right now living in a trailer, right? And people might think, oh, well, no, this is exactly this is what I want, I have, things that I want to do, but this is just fine with me, I'm glad I don't live in a city in California. I would rather live in the desert in the middle of nowhere in a trailer than live in a fucking city. Now, you might be okay with like, hey, yeah, not me, man. Dude, I lived in a city, the capital of California for like on and off for 25 years. I've been homeless in many cities. I've lived in, enough cities. I know what the city's like. I got no interest in it. And then all this shit about money where people are, scrambling to get, to get this and that to meet the status quo and shit. Like, that's all just a joke. These things are so fucking meaningless in life. So somebody might, look at this guy. Now he lives in a trailer. It's like, yeah, that's right, motherfucker. That's exactly where I live. Yeah. And I love it. It's great. Of course you take the bad with the good and everything, no matter what. But anyways, so this is where I'm at now, and I could have stayed in my career and continue to be one of the best in the field. And that's something also that I didn't mention. That field is purely corrupt and evil. It's as evil and corrupt as the police department, I've seen, so anyways, whatever. And that's another thing people will have a hard time understanding. Well, how is police department, how could that be similar at all to the homeless service provider field? Dude, like, you have no fucking idea. So anyway, so I've done shit that a lot of people don't even understand. Like music, for example. So many people don't understand music. So they don't understand G.G. Allin. They don't understand Frank Zappa, why someone would be like totally fucking obsessed with Frank Zappa. They're just kind of passive consumers of music. If a person becomes an active listener and an active participant in music and stuff like that, there is way more to music than what mainstream tells you. What mainstream tells you music is a complete lie. And all of these famous people in music, 90% of them are more are talentless fucking schmucks. Everything is inverted. So all the underground scene, all the underground music all across this country, like 80% of all of this underground music is top quality shit. Whereas 80% of all this mainstream shit that everybody believes music is like the diarrhea of all fucking diarrhea. So the people that are considered greats in music are the worst. The people that are not even regarded at all, they get no recognition for their musicianship, are the best in the country and in the world. So being an active listener and an active participant in music, you see the inversion. It is completely inverted. All these people that are put up as musicians and artists and stuff in mainstream, they are all like the worst. And all the ones that you've never heard of that are all underground, those are all the best. So I have played with the best musicians. I have played shows with the best bands because everything is inverted when it comes to music. I know that much because of all the years I spent playing in bands. One of my favorite bands that I ever played in, we played on the streets. We had portable battery-powered amps and a homemade drum kit, and we would just set up on a random street corner and fucking assault people with guerrilla rock. and play like a 20-30 minute guerrilla rock show where we would just set up. Nobody even knew we were coming. By the time we were already set up and playing before they even knew what the fuck was going on. And 5 minutes into our show, we got a crowd of people surrounding us and they're singing along with the songs, right? So, this, like, unbelievable, indescribable, these kinds of things. And my whole life has been like this, like the street. You don't even know nothing about the homelessness in the street. If you've never been it, if you've never experienced it, you know absolutely nothing. I saw an interview that got published in the news, mainstream news. They interviewed a fucking Green Beret Vietnam vet. Okay, and this guy was sharp as fuck mentally. Like, he was not one of these talking to themselves guy. He was all about his wits, sharp as a fucking tack, right? And they were interviewing him and asking him questions about homelessness. And you know what this guy said? A Green Beret Vietnam vet said that in all of his life experience, all of his years in the Vietnam War, he's never experienced anything as fucked up as being homeless in the streets of the United States of America. His experience on the street is worse than any experience that he ever had as a Green Beret Vietnam vet in the Vietnam War. I'm not military. I've never been in the military. But when I saw that, I was just like, God damn. And because, anyways, whatever. Like, the shit that I've seen is just unbelievable, unreal shit. And so, like, now I live in a trailer, and people will be like, oh, well, this guy, he's a loser. He lived on the street for 10 years. Well, that means he's a loser. Oh, he played with bands like Anal Cunt and this guy's that's a loser, like everything. It's all perception. People's perception is retarded. People that think that like all this mainstream music is good, they're retarded. And so they'll see like all these underground bands, but because they're not acknowledged by mainstream, well, they must not be good bands because they're not acknowledged by mainstream. But the thing is everything is inverted. All the fucking good bands are not getting acknowledged or recognized. All the shittiest bands are the ones that are famous and all over the place. P. Diddy and Miley Cyrus and all these fucking just all garbage. So I've lived a really full life and I've been blessed, man. And this is just a chapter in my life right now, living in this trailer. Fucking, we'll see what happens, But I'm fairly content. My life's not perfect or anything and stuff, whatever. But I'm fairly content, And like I've had people that were my friends, right? Or they were so-called, right? And then they found out that I played in this and that band and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, I play a little guitar too," and whatever, and just kind of this and that. And then something happens where they'll get upset with me, and then they'll start calling me a washed-up musician, like I'm just a washed-up, right? I'm just washed up. I'm just, It's like people are dumb, dude. People are just. People are stupid. Like that person that said that, they don't know anything about High on Fire. That High on Fire won, best album of 2018. They don't even, they listen to all this mainstream diarrhea, so they don't even know anything about music or what's good versus what isn't. And then they're like trying to accuse me I'm a washed up musician and shit. And that's because they're just jealous and they're pissed off. Because they haven't done anything in their life. They just haven't had these experiences, and I don't care, like I don't judge people based off of what have you done and what haven't you done. But it goes back to that thing about throwing stones from glass houses. You know, there's just a lot of NPCs and a lot of sheeple and stuff like that, that they're just dumb, and they're that stupid. Like, they throw stones from glass houses. Like, they're the biggest losers. They're the most asleep people in the world, and they're so asleep. They're so fucking asleep that they don't even know it. And they start throwing stones from their glass houses because they think that they're hot shit, you know, and they've never done anything. You know, they take great pride in never having lived up to anything. All they've ever done in their life is lie, steal, cheat, and kill. And they take pride in being a bad person, like a shitty person. And they think that's so fucking cool. And that's all they've ever accomplished is just shit. Their whole life is just total shit. And they always want to drag you down with them. You know, Henry Rollins said it in a song. He said, the ones that don't do anything are always the ones who try to bring you down. Always. They're the ones that have never done anything at all are always the ones who are trying to bring you down. They will always, and it will always be that way. Always. And, you know, and so, and of course, you know, a Pantera song, that's another, the Pantera, where he says, got shit on, pissed on, spit on, stepped on, fucked with, pointed at by lesser men. These things are just common in life, you know. You will always get shit on, spit on, pissed on, stepped on, fucked with, and pointed at by lesser men. Always, they're always the ones that are doing that. People, the better person never does that shit. Never does. Or rarely. It's like super rare, you know. And, you know, and, you know, I mean, I don't mean to brag. I mean, I don't mind bragging, you know. But, you know, when a person is doing shit in their life that's meaningful, and it's not getting recognized or acknowledged, at some point, you know, at some point it might be time to just be like, well, hey, here's what I've done, you know. Here's what I've done. What the fuck have you done, you know? There's a Minor Threat song that says that. What the fuck have you done, you know? What the fuck have you done, you know? You think it's easy abstaining from drugs and alcohol for 23 years? Go fucking try it sometime. Get back to me and let me know what your experience has been. Yeah, most people won't even try it. Because they're too good. You know, they're too good for that. They're above that shit. But, yeah, I mean, at some point it's like, well, what the fuck have you done, you know? People like to judge and point fingers and be fucking cunts. And again, it's 9 times out of 10, it's the NPC, it's the sheeple, it's the fucking automaton, it's the trancer. And just like Henry Rollins said, those are always the ones who try to bring you down. Always. The ones that don't do anything are always the ones who try to bring you down. And going back to the storyboard, which I'll eventually want to finish, that's what happened. You know, I got close with somebody who never fucking did nothing with their life. But I'm not like that. I don't judge people based off of that shit. It doesn't matter to me because we all come from different circumstances and, you know, and stuff like this. Maybe my judgment was a little poor. I hope that I've learned from from that, and that, you know, at the same time though, it's just like, you know, people are people. I don't look at people like, what have you done? But the thing is, that's the way the world is. And again, it's always the fucking NPC, trancer, fucking automaton sheeple that are those are the ones that care, that are trying to compare and shit. And what happens is when they call you out and say, well, what the fuck have you done? And you go, okay, well, you want to play that game? All right, let me list everything I've done. And you just start listing it. Well, then they get upset because their whole life they've done nothing but pull levers and push buttons. And so they get upset when they hear you've actually done meaningful shit in your life. And then they double down. Then they start attacking you. They're always the ones who will try to bring you down. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about anything. They're fucking insane, you know? And unfortunately, the world is fucking insane, you know? The world is fucking insane. And so that's just part of the deal, you know? And when everything is inverted, we're told what success is, when really success is the opposite of what we've been told. Success is the opposite of what we've been brainwashed all these years before we can remember. We've been brainwashed what success is. And when everything is inverted, you find over time that the opposite of success is what success is. What we're brainwashed to believe success is to look at what everyone else is doing and assimilate and do what everyone else is doing. When in reality, success is the opposite of that. Look at what everyone else is doing and don't do what everyone else is doing. Forge your own fucking path. And, you know, I really am lucky because I was forced to live on the street. It wasn't by choice. But being forced into that situation taught me how to be okay with not doing what everyone else is doing and to forge my own path, you know. And so I'm like really blessed, you know. It's easy to look at all this stuff and be like, I'm just a fucking loser, but that's just ridiculous, you know. All this superficial bullshit that we're led to believe is what makes a man. It's all lies. Like money. The more money you have, that's another Henry Rollins song. The more money you make, the more you get it right. Is that what life is? Is the more money you make, the more you get it right? Right? That's what it's all about. No, that's total bullshit. And we've been brainwashed to believe all this stuff about money and all this shit. That's why I love living in a trailer, dude. I don't care about money, dude. Money is a fucking lie, you know. It's a tool. At best, it's a tool, you know. I mean, fingernail clippers are a tool. Yeah, I'll clip my nails, but I'm not gonna be like all obsessed and have like 100,000 fingernail clippers and be clipping my nails to the fucking bone because fingernail clipper, like who cares? It's a tool. That's all it is. That's all money is a tool, you know. So, but anyways, so you know, I don't know. I mean, I could believe what everybody else thinks that I should be, but it's all bullshit, you know. So anyway, but it's very interesting. Like this storyboard that I'm storying is about a person who is a complete fucking loser and will always be nothing but a loser. And the whole thing with this person and their obsession with conspiring against me was to, you know, build themselves up by tearing me down or by attempting to tear me down. And the person was so desperate to tear me down that they were like putting death threats out on me, committing arson, like conspiring with all the most fucked up people to commit art, and for no reason, no reason at all. And I mean, can you imagine, like, someone that you really helped, you spent 3 years helping and caring for and loving and stuff, and there's like nothing really, like there's no big issue between you, you know, there's no real massive issue, and then one day out of the blue, after 3 years of you being the kind of the provider and helping them because they needed help, they were in trouble, and out of nowhere, just out of the blue, they just snap, and then all of a sudden they're like putting death threats out on you, they're burning your shit down, they've got a whole group of like cockroaches that are all conspiring against you, and so desperate to tear you down for no reason. Could you imagine not even having a reason at all? No reason. So, and then on top of it, the person is a complete and utter loser. Like, again, the most that person has ever accomplished in their life is they held a job at McDonald's for 1.5 years, and that's it. And then they're like peacocking around like that they're awesome and that they have ruined you and they've overcome you because you were a mean big bad wolf and you were victimizing them, and it's all bullshit. Like, it's all a lie and everything. Like, I've never seen that level of patheticism, if that's a word. Like, totally pathetic. Just, it's really unbelievable, like, how pathetic there are people that are so pathetic where it's just shocking to see how pathetic people are. And the only really real way to describe it would be like demon possession. You know, literally, like, the most accurate description would be like it's just a demon possessed person. Like, there is no other explanation. There is no other description. They're just demon possessed. Like, and so it's just interesting. That's part of the storyboard, like the character development. It's a night and day with the character. Not that I'm like some great person or something. I'm just another bozo on the bus. But I mean, like, this other person, it's like unbelievable different. The difference, you know, there are just evil fucking people. And there are people that aren't evil. Now, I'm not saying, you know, that I'm good. And we're all evil. We all have the potential to be evil. And I mean, I'm probably evil too. I mean, I don't know. I'm not good. But I mean, there are people that are just pure evil. Pure evil. There is like no positive attributes in them hardly at all. Or there's so few that it's like practically impossible. I think this is the one time that I have encountered someone that is just that. And it's just unreal. It's such a mind-blowing experience. It's basically like encountering a demon-possessed fucking black-hearted evil fucking witch, you know. There's really no other way to describe it. So when you consider like the history of sorry, I'm just trying to keep my camera on. When you consider like the history of the witch burnings and this and that, it kind of makes you wonder, you know. I used to think that, oh, the witch burnings, that was all not good, but now when you encounter a real witch, yeah, you get a different perspective on the witch trials and stuff, like, because unfortunately there are people that deserve what happened to the victims of the witch trials. There are people that is the appropriate response to them, because they're just evil, dude. There is no other way to describe them except for just evil. And they deserve to be, you know, done what happened to the witches, or the so-called witches, during the witch trials. So it's a different perspective, you know. It makes you think twice if you encounter somebody who's basically like demon possessed, for lack of a better term, or just they're a black-hearted evil fucking demon possessed witch, for lack of any better explanation. That's just what they are. They're proud of it, even though they hide it and stuff. There are just people like that in the world, and it's really indescribable to have a close encounter with one. It really is. I've been around a lot of scumfucks in my life, but this is a whole other level. I'm not talking about scumfuck. I'm talking about literally demon-possessed, pure evil, just without any, just pure psychopath evil. And there really are people like that. There's actually a book written called People of the Lie by Scott M. Peck. I have 2 of Scott M. Peck's books. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep my camera from... I have... these are 2 books by Scott Peck. And, you know, I kind of like to geek out on them. I'm kind of a nerd, I guess, in a way. Psychology is an interesting thing to me. So these are 2 books by Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled. You may have heard of it. It's actually good. And then this is the second one, the Further Along the Road Less Traveled. And his shit is heavily based in Carl Jung. So he's just like you know, expanding on Carl Jung's stuff. And these are The Road Less Traveled. But this guy, Scott, the author, M. Scott Peck, MD, also wrote a book called People of the Lie. where he talks about his encounters with people who, in his field of psychology and psychiatry, the only diagnosis he could come up with is that they're evil. That's just it. Like, they're just evil, and there really are people. And I empathize with him wanting to write a book describing that, because there are scum fucks and there are shitty people, but that's different than like truly evil, where they're just truly black-eyed, demon-possessed, black-hearted witches, dude. Like, there is a difference. And until a person actually encounters that type of person, the lines are still kind of blurred. That's why people like Scott M. Peck wrote a book called People of the Light, where he describes, a handful of cases of people during his field and during his career in psychiatry and psychology, where the only logical diagnosis for that person is just straight up evil. That's it. They're just evil. That's it. And this storyboard is an encounter that I had with a straight up evil, black-hearted, black-eyed, demon-possessed, fucking black soul, just pure witch. Purely, just like that's it. So, I don't know, And it's very fascinating to me, because it's the first time I've had a real close encounter. Again, I lived on the street for 10 years. I have seen a lot of scumfuck, cockroaches, just scummy, shitty people. I've seen all of that. This is entirely different. Entirely different. This is a whole completely different thing. And again, the only accurate terms to use to describe them are like demon-possessed, evil. That's it. Witch, a real witch and shit. So anyway, but this will be my last video. I just haven't done videos in a while, and I like doing videos and I miss it, and so I'm just kind of trying to catch up, and get this shit out. I like doing the YouTube or whatever. I like doing these video platforms for me, And if anybody benefits it, oh man, that's just icing on the cake for me, I don't know. So anyway, well, I'll end it there.